Hello, everybody. Once again, Joe Nice, live and direct, January 13, 2020. We're going to try this again. I told you this is live. January 13, 2021, January 1, 2021, 1132021. Once again, continuing the live and direct conversations on a daily basis as much as reasonably possible. Today's 1 week since the Diet Coup, insurrection, riot, protest, rally, whatever you want to call it. 1 week, what has changed? 1 week, what has changed? 1 week. In 1 week, what's changed? There's a whole lot of people that still don't have their stimulus money, or they're now survival checks. There's a whole lot of people that still aren't talking $2,000 a month payments. There's still a whole lot of people that aren't talking healthcare in the middle of a deadly pandemic. There's still a whole lot of people that aren't talking student loan forgiveness when the moratorium on student loans ends next month. I'm sorry, ends in about 2.5 weeks. This time next week, a new president will be taking office, Joe Biden. My sister Kat Wells and I are going to do an episode, actually next week's episode number 32, will be about Joe Biden and his cabinet. And I hope everybody understands some of the hacks and neoliberal idiots that are going to be in his administration. I hope people really understand what everybody is going to be getting into for the next 4 years and how I think none of these people are going to materially improve the day-to-day lives of the vast majority of Americans. And if you've been paying attention to some of what we've been talking about on several of my conversations and some of the Joe and Kat Chat series chats, you know, we've talked about Kamala Harris at length. I've done a couple of different videos about Joe Biden and his malfeasance. I've spoken about the new Secretary of Commerce, I think it is. I think it's Commerce. Yes, Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimondo. Gina Raimondo is the former governor of Massachusetts, and she is a venture capitalist, one of these Wall Street types. And when she was governor of Massachusetts, she somehow figured out a way to divert funds from the state pension fund from Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and divert that to venture capitalists on Wall Street. Gina Raimondo, according to various reports, has a net worth of over $300 billion. There's no way anybody in the federal government should be worth that amount of money and be in controlling the levers of power, especially a venture capitalist that is a centimillionaire times 3, and that is in control of the Commerce Department. Does anybody see the conflict of interest there? There's no way that Lloyd Austin, a retired 4-star general who has not been retired long enough based upon the rules that have been prescribed by the federal government, that you have to be retired for a certain amount of time from the Department of Defense. In order to be the head of the Department of Defense. Lloyd Austin is on the board at Raytheon, which is a defense contractor. Does anybody see the conflict of interest there? I suppose not. So we're going to talk about all of this stuff and a whole lot more. We're going to talk about Pete Buttigieg, Mayor Pete, South Bend, Indiana. He's the Secretary of Transportation. This is the Secretary of Transportation that couldn't fix the streets in his own city. So again, next week's episode is going to be Joe Biden's cabinet. And we're going to talk about a bunch of the cast of characters that are in his cabinet and how they contrast with Trump's cabinet. And how simply because you have a bunch of black faces in high places, that doesn't necessarily mean that the lives of black people are going to be improved or the lives of everyday Americans are going to be improved. White, black, brown, yellow, whatever, whoever. Doesn't make a whole bit of difference. I have no confidence in this next regime, this next administration. And there's a big part of me that feels that the next 4 years of the United States government are going to be worse than the previous 4 years. I have no confidence. And I have no confidence in the progressive wing of the Democratic Party of the United States. I have no confidence in them at all. I have no confidence in Bernie Sanders. And I am no longer giving any of these people the benefit of the doubt because they don't deserve it. Because the last time we had a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate, and a Democrat in the White House, we ended up with a Republican healthcare plan. And you can watch all of the videos that I've done on healthcare that firmly and explicitly and clearly explain how the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act is a Republican healthcare plan. But if you don't believe me, that's okay. You can go ahead and look on the internet. You can figure out, oh, you know what? The Heritage Foundation created Mass Care, or what is known as Romney Care, and then it got transferred over. Then it got transferred over and became the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. So we want to make sure that we have a clear understanding of everything that we're dealing with right now. Everything from top to bottom, forward, sideways, up, down, left, and right. And again, we're hearing reports that the FBI is gearing up for potential attacks on every state capital in the United States. Every one of them. And again, government. This is our government saying, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and impeach a guy that's going to be leaving the White House in, 8 days, 7 days. Let's go ahead and impeach him. Instead of, hey, you know what? Let's figure out a way to get more money in people's pockets. Or, you know what? Let's figure out a way to properly distribute a vaccine so we could potentially reopen the economy within the next 6 to 9 months or a year. Or, let's figure out a way to get everybody broadband internet access so we can keep people safely in the confines of their homes for the time being until we can properly roll out this vaccine. Or let's figure out a way to fix all of the pipes and all the plumbing fixtures in Flint, Michigan, Baltimore, Maryland, and some of these other cities that are dealing with lead in their water. But no, let's go ahead and impeach a president that's going to be leaving the White House soon. Let's go ahead and impeach him. I'm going to tell you right now, and many of y'all know I grew up in Baltimore. Many of y'all know that. And the greatest television show of all time, and I have no problem saying this, is The Wire. One of the greatest television characters of all time is Omar Little. Now, if you remember one of the episodes, Omar got involved in a shootout with Wee-Bey. And Wee-Bey got shot in his leg, and then Omar ran off into a vacant. And you could hear him whistling. You hear him whistling, okay? And then later on in that particular scene, Omar says to Wee-Bey, he says, hey, listen here, Bey. If you come at the king, you best not miss. If they're going to go ahead with this impeachment, they had better come to the king. Come at the king, which is essentially Donald Trump, and they had best not miss. They had better make sure they have enough votes in the Republican Party to shut this whole thing down and get Trump out of office. Because if this is just an exercise in posturing and futility and a waste of time, nobody wins. They had best not miss. Don't miss. If you remember House of Pain, Jump Around, when Everlast looked into the camera and said, and when I shoot the gift, I shoot to kill. They had better shoot to kill. They had better not miss. But otherwise, you're going to have a whole lot of people in Washington, D.C. jumping around. And jumping up and getting down. Just like that. Got a couple of comments in here already. We're loosey goosey. Rude Johnson saying good morning from Canada. Oh, Canada. There it is. I can sing it. Thanks in advance for your knowledge, insight, and voice on all things that matter. Respects. God bless America. Thank you, Rude Johnson. Rude, where you from, Rude? From Winnipeg, Calgary, Vancouver, Regina, Saskatoon, Thunder Bay, Toronto, Kitchener, St. Catharines, Charlottetown, Sydney, Halifax, Truro, Antigonish, St. John, which is in New Brunswick. Calgary. All right, I like Calgary a whole lot. I miss Calgary. Always a good time in Calgary. Always good times there. Les, what's going on, Les? Saying talk that talk, Joe. What's up, brother? Main Man Ranch checking in. Great time last night. Absolutely, Ranch. And by the way, you wanted some more high-class dialogue and gonzo journalism, check out Richard's platform at Real Fear and Loving on Facebook. And I'm going to put that in the chat right now because I'm that kind of guy. Facebook.com/Real Fear and Loving. Loving. If I could spell, that would be awesome. There it is right there in the chat. I'm going to put that in there. Facebook.com/Real Fear and Loving. Support that. Support that. One of the greatest basketball players of all time, Kevin. What's going on, Kev? Saying big facts, Joe. 7 days left, and now it's so important to get him out. I don't understand, bro. I don't understand it either. I don't understand it either. What's the point? What's the purpose? Unless you're trying to make sure that he doesn't run again, which is also on the cards. But even with all of his craziness, even with everything that happened last weekend, I guarantee you, if Trump runs in 2024, he will most likely be the Republican nominee for the presidency of the United States, because I don't see another Republican that can coalesce and galvanize the Republican base. I don't see it right now. I don't see it. I don't see it. If there's somebody out there on the and by default, it can't be Ted Cruz, because Ted Cruz was not born in the United States. He was actually born in Canada, from what I remember. So can't be Ted Cruz. I mean, the only other person I could see that could potentially be the Republican nominee in 2024 is Mike Pence. Now, is Mike Pence going to be a better candidate? Does Mike Pence have a better chance of winning the presidency in 2024 over anybody the Democrats decide to put up? And it's most likely going to be Kamala Harris, because I don't see Joe Biden running in 2024. Quite frankly, I don't see Joe Biden being alive in 2024. Because if anything, if you're going to use the 26th Amendment on anybody over the next 4 years, I could completely see the 26th Amendment being used on Joe Biden, given his health and his cognitive decline. I could totally see that happening. Richard saying, watching this on YouTube on my big screen. How big is that big screen, brother? We got a 48, 52. How do I look on 4K, buddy? How am I looking on 4K? I need to shape up that beard later on today. I'm going to come back extra fresh tomorrow. But hey, the only thing better than seeing some of Joe is more of Joe on a big screen. We're all in. Kevin saying, not going to stop the civil war brewing in this country. Let me tell you something. This civil war is brewing like beer and alcohol. It's brewing like tea. Brewing like tea. And it's getting worse. And the fucked up thing about it, Kevin, is if there's a whole lot of people, and again, I said this the other day on another conversation, there's a whole lot of people, not necessarily talking about the miscreants and ne'er-do-wells that broke into the building and took pieces of mail and took some of those government mints that they have in those bowls that they give you, or took some of those government pens, or took Nancy Pelosi's laptop or her mail or anything, or took a lectern or some other memorabilia that had no business being taken. But there's a whole lot of people that were standing outside, that didn't walk inside, that weren't necessarily carrying guns, that were completely crushed by the Bush administration. And then they believed in a junior senator from Chicago that said, hope, change, yes, we can. They believed in them. They said, hey, you know what? Yeah, this guy's going to help improve the day-to-day life of me and my community and my citizenry, in my community, on a day-to-day basis. And then they saw, hey, you know what? Yeah, we're actually not going to do that. And we're going to crush unions on the way out. And then, if you have a house, we're going to take that from you. And the money from taking your house, we're going to bail out the big banks. And you're not going to get anything. So there's a whole lot of people that I think, not even a whole lot, but some of the people that were in that crowd on Wednesday that didn't walk into the building, and that didn't kill a cop, and didn't beat up somebody else, were like, hey, you know what? There's a whole lot of people in that crowd that are politically homeless and that are politically destitute because they don't believe in the Republican Party anymore. And they believed in Donald Trump because they said, hey, you know what? The black guy with a Muslim name that talked hope, change, and yes, we can, did none of that. He was a continuation of Bush and a continuation of Clinton. Let me try this other guy that's speaking my language. Let me try this other guy. And they believed in Trump. And they believed in Trump so much that a former first lady, former state senator, and former secretary of state was a less appealing option for the presidency of the United States than a retired game show, reality talk show host. Seriously, that's what happened. If you were to, again, let's rewind to 2016. If you said, okay, which one of these people is most qualified to be president? A former state senator and secretary of state, or retired reality TV game show host? And a whole bunch of people said, you know what? I'll take my chances with the game show host. And that is an indictment of the Democratic Party. And Maurice astutely says the Democrats are done. I thoroughly agree. The Democrats are toast. Burnt bread, toast. French toast, challah toast, any kind of toast. Avocado toast, done. They're toast too. They're toast too. Don't trust them either. I don't trust them either. Kevin said Trump made it cool to be a jackass and ignorant. You know what? Yeah, he made it more mainstream, but there have been plenty of people in government that also made it okay to be a jackass and be ignorant. Obama was good at that. So was Clinton. So was Bush. Plenty of people in government. Nancy Pelosi's a jackass and she's ignorant. So is Mitch McConnell. So is Jim Clyburn. So is Kevin McCarthy. So is Larry Kudlow. So is Stephen Mnuchin, who belongs in jail. So is Kamala Harris and her neoliberal shape-shifting self. Claire Oliver with a smile. Hello. Hi, Claire. Good morning. Richard, Republicans are more fried. Let me tell you something. Republicans are fried like chicken and fish. Lake trout business. Lake trout business. And the Republicans, I think, are even more done because now there's probably going to be a split. When Trump got in, there was already a fracturing between establishment Republicans and the people that supported Trump. So you had your Trumpublicans and then Republicans. But now there's a whole lot of those establishment Republicans that are slowly beginning to distance themselves from Trump. And now they're looking at it and saying, hey, you know what? I don't want any parts of any of this. I'm going to go back to our I'm going to go back to our conservative ways, the days of George Bush or Bob Dole. And I don't want this far right-wing business that Trump represents. But then there are a whole lot of people that tied their political futures to Donald Trump, like a Josh Hawley or a Ted Cruz. So now what? You're going to have a bunch of people that are like, hey, you know what? Yeah, I'm more of this conservative Republican. I'm more of a Lindsey Graham type Republican. And then you're going to have a whole lot of people that are, yeah, I'm a Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz type of Republican, or essentially the Trump wing of the Republican Party. And quite honestly, there is not much difference between the neoliberal or the corporate Democratic wing of the Democratic Party and the conservative wing of the Republican Party. There's really not much difference. It's only branding. Michaela Anderson saying, speak the truth. I'm loving this. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. There's really not much difference between either of these parties. There really isn't. Neither party wanted to give you $2,000 checks when it came time to do it. Neither party wants to give you healthcare in the middle of a pandemic. Neither party wants to defund the Pentagon and the Department of Defense. They both voted for a $740 million bill and said, hey, you know what? We'll give you this money. Go ahead and bomb a whole bunch of brown people in the Middle East. Do it. A whole bunch. Neither party wants to forgive student loan debt. Neither party wants to do anything regarding defunding the police. Neither party wants to do anything with regards to criminal justice reform or campaign finance reform. Neither party wants to do anything with regard to the Voting Rights Act or the Equality Act. It's the point. Maurice saying, I love your dialogue, but you seem to be avoiding the fact that the Democrats were infiltrated by the CCP. I'm not avoiding any facts. I mean, if you're talking Russiagate, that's been debunked by a whole lot of sources. Go ahead and look up some of the work that Aaron McTay has done, or Max Blumenthal from the Gray Zone. Go ahead and look up some of the videos that Bill Binney has done. I don't necessarily agree with everything Bill Binney is discussing politically, but when it comes to debunking Russiagate, I will take my chances with a guy that created the the NSA technology called ThinThread, which was designed to surveil people. And then he blew the whistle on it. And the government's been after him ever since. I'll take my chances with that guy debunking Russiagate and all the Facebook ads that were supposedly involved with Russiagate that were never actually from Russia. I'll take my chances with believing Bill Binney over the mainstream media that continues to push war and other propaganda at the behest of the corporate lobbies. But hey, Democrats were inflated by Russia. Russia has always been a good excuse to have the Democrats not do anything. But guess what? Now we have a democratically controlled House and Senate and White House. There's no excuses. You can't say, Mitch McConnell doesn't want to do it. Mitch McConnell's blocking. Can't say that now. Nope. We're not giving you 2 years to do the shit that we need done in this country. We're giving you 100 days. And I'm dead serious. I still think now to this day, there should be mass general strikes across this country. We should be shutting this country down. Shutting this country down. You see what happened on Wednesday? Violence out of the way. And people getting shot and people getting beat up out of the way. But in terms of a mass movement of that caliber, I have no problem with it. None. Now, what I have a problem is what they were marching about and what they were rallying for. But in terms of those people exercising their First Amendment rights and petitioning their government to get for redress of grievances, which is a First Amendment right, I got no problem with that. Nope. I just wish those cats were trying to march for healthcare like the 40 or 50 of us were the other day in Washington, D.C. Marching for healthcare. Debo saying all that money to defense, but couldn't handle the Capitol. Yep, I agree. I agree. Maurice saying, bro, we don't have factual evidence that the CCP has infiltrated the U.S. with 2 million people. I don't care about Russiagate. Your opinion on the CCP infiltration, please. Mitch, Hunter, Joe Biden, all been blackmailed. In fact, Mitch has quit, so I love your opinion. There is certainly something fishy with the whole Hunter Biden situation. Excuse me, that I will buy. I'll buy that. What is Hunter Biden doing with some of these energy companies when he doesn't have a background in energy? Why is he being paid $50,000 a month? For what? What's that? Why is that happening? And why did the mainstream media do an amazing job of covering that up? Hunter Biden has never had a job in his life. His claim to fame is being Joe Biden's son. And then all of a sudden, you're going to go ahead and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to work with this energy company in Russia that's controlled with one of the Russian oligarchs. Doesn't make sense. Mitch's wife just quit. Yeah, actually, Mitch's wife, Elaine Chao, she quit a couple of days ago. And something I'm going to talk about in next week's episode of the Joe and Cat Chats is the composition of Trump's cabinet. And Elaine Chao is really one of a handful of people in Trump's cabinet that is a non-white male. The other two people who I can think of off the top of my head who are non-white males in Trump's cabinet are Betsy DeVos, and she just quit, and Ben Carson. And Ben Carson, look, I got all the respect in the world for Ben Carson's ability to be a doctor. Look, if you got some kids joined at the head and you need them split apart, Ben Carson's your guy. Ben Carson has an amazing life story. He grew up in Baltimore. Actually, no, I don't think he grew up in Baltimore. He went to Hopkins. He's an amazing doctor. His mother couldn't read, And his mother was like, look, you're going to read every day. And Ben Carson became an amazing pediatric neurosurgeon. But in terms of his politics and what he's been doing in the White House, Ben Carson resigning would be more than what he's done for the Department of Housing and Urban Development over the past 4 years. Because him resigning and what he's done over the past 4 years for HUD has been exactly the same. He's done nothing. Absolutely nothing. Yeah, but Elaine Chao was like, hey, you know what? I'm tired of this whole thing too. I quit. Betsy DeVos had no business being Secretary of Education in the first place. The only reason she got there is because she's a billionaire and her brother, Eric Prince, was the head of Blackwater, which is essentially a mercenary organization tied to the CIA that was hired by the CIA to kill a whole bunch of Iraqis. Betsy DeVos never saw a charter school she didn't like. So when Betsy DeVos grabs her $5,000 Prada bag and gets on camera in her $4,000 Versace pantsuit and says, hey, you know what? I'm resigning because it's a flashpoint of violence in the United States. She had nothing to say when her brother and the band of mercenaries that were bought and paid for by the United States government, which is our tax dollars. She had nothing to say when her brother was killing Iraqis in the Middle East. Nothing to say, because I guess that wasn't a flashpoint enough. It wasn't a flashpoint enough. Maurice saying, Mitch's wife is connected to CCP. Just curious how this is not an issue with regards to the incoming president-elect. Is this a national security risk for everyone, whether Democratic or Republican? I certainly think it is. I would certainly think that if you have the son of a president that is connected to oligarchs and there's other malfeasance going on, it certainly needs to be investigated. It needs to be investigated. It needs to be looked at, because where there's definitely some smoke there. We should investigate to see if there's a fire that's brewing. Debo saying, did you hear the former Michigan Governor Rick Snyder is actually getting charged for the Flint poisoning? Rick Snyder belongs under the jail. Fuck him. Rick Snyder belongs under the jail. He poisoned an entire community and knew about it. And just as bad as Barack Obama. Because Barack Obama went ahead just like this. You can watch it on YouTube. Went just like this and said, hey, took a fake sip of some bottled water and said, yeah, the water's fine. Water's fine. No problem. And look at the hundreds of thousands of people that he poisoned. And when he could have gone ahead and said, hey, you know what? This is a disaster area. Let's go ahead and get the Army Corps of Engineers to fix all of these pipes, replace them all, and all of the fixtures in everybody's house. And we'll pay for it. Government will pay for it. Because if the government could spend $500 million on drill bits to go ahead and drill in the Arctic, and if the government can spend billions of dollars on the military, they can spend, I don't know, the $200 million or so that it would cost to fix all the plumbing in Flint, Michigan, to make sure a generation of people aren't poisoned because of lead. This is 7 years now. 7 years. Rick Snyder's been out of office for 2 years. And they're just now saying, yo, we're going to charge Rick Snyder with something. And they're not even sure what he's getting charged with. We don't know what the charges are. State attorney said, yo, Rick Snyder, get ready. You're being charged. We don't know what the charges are. We don't know if these charges are attempted manslaughter, attempted murder, corruption, racketeer. We don't know what these charges are. We don't know if for all we know, these charges could be jaywalking. We don't know what these charges are. But whatever those charges are, it's not going to be enough. Because there's a whole lot of poor white people and black people in Flint, Michigan, whose lives are altered for the rest forever because of lead. If you want to learn more about some of the work that some of the investigative reporting, Vice has done some excellent work. You can watch Jordan Chariton, Chariton, Jordan like Michael, like the country in the Middle East, Jordan Chariton. He's done some excellent work about reporting on the situation in Flint, Michigan. Rick Snyder needs to go. All of the people in the health department need to go. All of them. And quite honestly, if I were the Michigan governor, if there was a way that you could file charges against Barack Obama, I would try it also. Try it. Roll the dice. Do it. Do it. And again, I did an entire video about this, talking about Libby, Montana. Actually, it's really Lincoln County, Montana. And how a vermiculite mine by the W.R. Grace Company, that's a mining company, poisoned Lincoln County, Montana, with asbestosis, mesothelioma, and other lung-related illnesses. And guess what? Because of an emergency declaration by the Environmental Protection Agency, they were able to get Medicare for all under Section 1881 Alpha of the Social Security Act, but due to environmental exposure. The last time I checked, lead is environmental exposure. And the folks in Libby, Montana didn't get that same benefit. So when the Michigan governor gets Rick Snyder and throws him in solitary confinement for the rest of his life, and they go ahead and say, hey, you know what, we need to fix these pipes. You know what they should be doing next? Yeah, Section 1881A, Medicare for everybody here. You don't have to pay for anything. Medicare for everybody. Medicare for everybody. Because there were efforts on the books to have all of the pipes. They were the government, I think the Michigan state legislature was going to say, hey, we're going to bring in a whole bunch of plumbers and pipe fitters and steam fitters. We're going to replace all these pipes. It will take about a year to do it. No, but in the richest country in the world, we have people in a city, a large city, I might add. Sure, it's not Boston. It's not San Antonio, Texas. It's not Los Angeles. It's not San Francisco or Chicago or Seattle or New York City. All right, but Flint isn't exactly a small town either. There's over 100,000 people that are poisoned with lead. You have people driving around picking up cases of bottled water so they can brush their teeth and wash their faces and flush their toilets. There were reports of people melting snow to get water to put in their toilets so they can flush their toilets. I want to say that again. There were people in Flint, Michigan during the wintertime that were melting snow to get water to put that water in their toilets so they can flush their toilets. I would tell Rick Snyder to go to hell, but hell is too kind for him. That's too nice for him. And bottled water isn't exactly good for you either, because bits of the plastic leak into the water. So even if you think you're getting some triple filtered Deer Park water, you don't know how long that water's been in the sun and how much of the plastic from the bottle has been leaking into the water that you're now consuming. That's causing all sorts of other health problems. And then you've got the environmental issue on top of that, which is plastic. Fuck Rick Snyder. It's crazy how much money they took in for charity and never used it for Flint. It's ridiculous. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. We can go ahead and bomb all these other countries. We can go ahead and spend $740 billion on a Department of Defense. But we can't spend, I don't know, $200 million to fix all the pipes and replace everybody's plumbing in Flint, Michigan. Can't do that because, hey, that's a problem. And we can't give them health care because, hey, you know what? We can't have all these people getting health care. But in Libby, Montana, when a bunch of people out there got poisoned with all sorts of lung-related problems from a mine, from a vermiculite mine. Yep, Medicare for all. We'll take care of you. We'll take care of you. There's a whole lot of poor white people and a whole lot of black people in Flint, Michigan. Lincoln County, Montana has exactly 12 black people. It's almost entirely white. But again, if I start talking race, I'm divisive. Joe, you're divisive, man. We can't be talking about race like this, man. Come on, Joe, you're divisive. What about unity? It's divisive to bring race up, Joe. And I don't like it because I don't feel comfortable when you talk about race. Yeah, probably because you're the one benefiting from it. That's all I want to say for today. Hope everybody has a wonderful afternoon. Please stay safe. Please stay informed. There's a lot more content that we're going to see on a lot of different networks and channels soon with me involved in it. Cat Wells and I finished up episode number 31 of the Joe and Cat Chat series yesterday. It was about employment. Please go watch it. There's a lot to be learned in that episode, especially the importance of the government providing a stimulus package. Towards the end of the episode, I discussed cyclical unemployment and how right now, given the coronavirus has created cyclical unemployment. The only way you stop cyclical unemployment is through an external source. The external source being the government stepping in and saying, hey, look, we will give you money to spend. That way you increase consumer spending. That way you increase demand. That way people can spend money. That way businesses can start to reopen, or at least keep their employees on the payroll. My guy Raj, Rue Johnson, Cat Wells, Jackson Whelan, last night we did an episode 8 of the Fear and Loving podcast. We're going to do those every month. And episode 8 involved the divided states of America. It was a robust conversation for about 90 minutes last night. You can look at that up on Real Fear and Loving on Facebook, Real Fear and Loving on YouTube. It's going to be a whole lot more content coming from me. And I know people have been asking, hey, Joe, when are you going to start playing music? And I said, my answer is I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And right now, I really don't care. I don't. Because there's more important stuff right now than playing dub plates. Way more. Way more. And there's a whole lot of places that have closed as a result of businesses being shut down as a result of this pandemic. Pure Trek saying, shout out from Poland. You're an inspiration behind the decks and as an activist. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Poland was a good time. Gosh, when was I there? Probably about 4 years ago. I played in Poznan and Wrocław. 2 excellent cities, wonderful cities, really good times in both places. Really good times in both places. Good cities, man, with good people too. Food was all right also. Yeah. I think the more people we have speaking up and speaking out about these issues that are taking place right now, the more awareness that we will build. And hopefully, the sooner we all will be getting back to what we love doing. If speaking out is not who you are or it's not in you, okay, it's not who you are. It's not in you. It's not in you. That's fine. Some people's personalities lend themselves to being on the sidelines and remaining quiet. And that's understandable. But I think if you have a voice and you have a platform and you have a little bit of a following or a lot of a following, now more than ever is the time to use it. And use it for something that's going to be more important than you selling merchandise or pushing your next record or whatever, or whenever your next online stream is. Use it for something that's bigger than you. Thank you for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful day, afternoon, and evening, wherever you are around the world. I hope to be back tomorrow. We're going to see what happens next. All right. All the best, everybody. Peace.